Breaking news! Doomsday is here!
It is. It's right here, right now.
Say goodbye to your loved ones and kiss your cat the goodbye because you aren't gonna see tomorrow, Buster. That's intense, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
That's how people do the news normally.
No, that is definitely. Every time I wake up to BBC Breakfast, it's just them smashing their mugs on the floor.
Like doom,
yeah.
gloom,
Yeah.
Zoom,
Professor Zoom.
Professor Zoom.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's not what we're about. We're about fun. And before we hit the jingle, let's just say what this is about. It's tick tock. It's the Doomsday clock. Here's the jingle.
Looks like there's news a-brewing. Guess it's time for Jules' new win.
Yes, mate. So hit us up today with some comic book news, my boy Ewan. How are you? Good weekend?
I'm good. Good weekend. You know, New York Comic Con was comic-conning pretty hard.
It was.
I saw some really cool cosplays. There was a guy who was dressed as Swamp Thing, and it looked really cool. Like he had the whole full like flower thing going on and everything. And someone came dressed as the actual convention center itself.
Really?
Yeah. So technically, they actually win everything because they're every costume.
Yeah, they can't lose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's thinking. That's using your melon, man. That is.
But we also got to see the first 6 pages of Doomsday Clock.
Yes,
the upcoming
we
DC
did.
Watchmen crossover.
Now,
thing.
We've both read this now, and there is only one thing to say about this. Holy hell, this looks good.
Yeah.
There's a few trepidation moments that we have because we're thinking that it's a bit. Well, let's just say it's very on the nose.
Very on the nose, very salient.
And you're worried that it's going to sort of possibly detract a little from Moore's sort of legacy by having it tied so directly into it.
The thing that I want to, because the things that we learned from it is that it's set 6 years after, or 5 or 6 years after the initial Watchmen comic book ends.
Yeah.
And it very much goes with the idea, like obviously don't, the spoilers if you've like not seen the preview
spoilers,
itself.
Spoiler alert here.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's set 6 years after the original Watchmen comic, and it very much goes with the ending that instead of people leaving it to interpretation whether or not Vite gets found out and whether peace collapses or not, it very much goes the thing that Rorschach
does.
It collapses and Vite's on the run and Rorschach's like journal got out and
obviously we've seen the images of Batman holding Rorschach's journal, so we kind of have to assume that he's the one that's maybe possibly found it because it did say it'd been stolen, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it might have been a cover-up that's been unmasked and things like that.
Yeah, and it also talks about how Dr. Manhattan's like been missing forever and people want him to come back because he's the savior. And he's
same with Night Owl as well.
And it's really interesting. I really like what Johns is doing with this. Not much else I can really say about it other than the fact that I want to know who Rorschach is and what he's doing, and I also want to know if this whole timeline thing has been displaced by Dr. Manhattan, because if it is set after the events of Watchmen, and Rorschach is back, that would imply to me that Dr. Manhattan's been doing some wiggly, timey-wimey stuff with the timeline.
Yeah, because you have to assume that after the whole events of Watchmen, he's still able to see everything and be everything, so he would have known that this was coming, and if he had any compassion he would be stepping in right now. So it kind of begs the question, is Dr. Manhattan at the point now where he cannot see humanity as worth caring for, or is it that an outside force is preventing him from coming back?
That would also be interesting. And the thing as well that it could be is that Rorschach could just be an imposter. And we've got this the legacy that character has is that loads of people seem to just get him wrong and misrepresent him and misinterpret him and kind of lionize him as this like really like justified vigilante when in actual fact he's kind of a satire on darker superheroes.
It was quite shocking to see him back in that final page because obviously, he dies. So it's very strange to be like, how are they going to write around this?
Could be a copycat. Like that's the thing I'm going with. It could be an imposter, and that would be Johns' way of kind of taking the idea of people misrepresenting the character's legacy and going forward.
That could be quite good. But it was just like it happened to be the same build and things like that. Like a perfect copy is hard to come by. So especially when he has quite a comical musing at the end when he's done this whole speech about sort of like, the classic, the maggots eating the cockroaches and then fighting off the scraps and disease and destruction. And at the very end he just goes, I'm hungry. Gonna get a bite to eat. Yeah, get a bite to eat. But he's in that prison at the very end as well, which raises even more questions because you have to look at these sort of panels as obviously they're scene setting. So we've seen the troopers going in and seeing what was a brain tumor on like an X-ray.
Got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre photograph noise going on as well. Yeah.
So you had that, and then you had obviously them storming the CEO office of Ozymandias and him not being there. and then we've got the news reporter saying that all other news channels are being shut down, and they have one news channel now, and then the first broadcast, the guy goes off the rails and says, we're all doomed.
The thing that was really interesting to me about that as well, and like going back to the whole thing of it being very on the nose, is that the broadcaster is William F. Buckley Jr. and you'll know him as like this really kind of hard right talk show host from like the 60s and 70s. So I thought that was interesting how they worked that in. And yeah, like it's very salient. It's very much of the time.
I mean, at the time of writing as well, this stands to be quite an important story. You look at the sort of political turmoil that we've got going on, the economic crises. You've got
references
like,
at all.
Yeah, I mean, it even says about like North Korea having sort of like missiles that can go into Texas and things like that. It's stuff like that that is immediate to our surroundings, but obviously is set in the 90s, so it has just enough leeway for them to really take the piss and be quite satirical, but still deny and say like it's not real life, like, you know, we don't think that this is all going to happen doom and gloom.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there could have been loads of stuff they could have done with actually the 90s itself and coming out of the Cold War, but the fact that it is going very much doomsday clock, like the world's about to end. Like you'll find out at the end of the issue, or at the end of this first 6 pages, that the US and Russia are on the brink of war, and the doomsday clock is inching closer.
They said that they have only like 4 hours.
Yeah,
or something
4
like
hours for a response. So
that means I would love it if the entire story arc took place over 4 hours. I would love that because I like stories that kind of flow like 24 sort of style. But I just can't wait to see how these sort of mainstay DC heroes step in to sort of like approach this, because I love Batman. Batman is like, you know, he's going to be on the top of most sort of character favourite lists, so to see how he can react to, you know, world-ending catastrophe.
Blue penis.
Yeah, and things like that. Like, and Superman versus Dr. Manhattan, that is a match that I'm sure everyone would want to see, but there's a lot of potential with this, which makes me just as worried. I really want them to get this right.
Yeah, like the thing that I'll get is that if this is the definitive aftermath of Moore's book, I'm going to be a little bit upset, because the whole thing that I love about Watchmen's ending is that it is so ambiguous and like it's open to interpretation. Whereas if this is the definitive Rorschach's thing got read out, and then it kind of takes away from some of the nuance of like the original ending.
Oh yeah, definitely, because the whole point was that you were meant to be left on a kind of tragic cliffhanger, like the lie is sometimes better than the truth. And like that's a great message for just life in general sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But having this as being like, no, it was found and everything was all pieced together nice, and it's like, it does take a bit away from it. But that is Doomsday, and it will be coming out when?
December? Yeah, December.
You can expect to see that on our weekly pull list, or at least showing up at least once on that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we host this thing called Panel Pals, which happens... It's Pally and it's Panelly, and basically that comes out every week where we go down to our boys at Travelling Man, we pick up some comics and we review them for you, and tell everyone if you should read them or not. So that's it. But that's been the news. I've been Jules. This has been my son, Ewan, my boy.
Definite boy.
Take care of him.
Yeah.
When I'm gone. When Doomsday comes, because I'm 30 now.
Yeah,
I'm getting on.
You're getting on.
I feel all of my molecules dying.
Oh, have you been in the vicinity of Dr. Manhattan? You might have to go to the hospital.
It wouldn't work Dr. Gateshead, would it? Professor Gateshead.
I mean, it might have the same effect.
Anyway, that's been the news. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments section below, whether or not you're excited about Doomsday and the potential for nuclear annihilation in comic book form.
Always fun.
And as always, I've been Jules, my boy Ewan, repeating myself, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.